Hey Book Dragons, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing my Lovecraftober wrap-up. Let's go. So I had a great reading month in October. One of my best reading months. I think I read more books in October than I've ever read in the span of a month. So it was really good. And of course, it was Lovecraftober, so a good portion of the books and stories I read was Lovecraftian in nature. So I'll go ahead and get started with it and let you know what I did. And here we go. I'm gonna put my eyes on here. The first story from Lovecraft that I read was Beyond the Wall of Sleep, and it puts you inside the visions of an entity who is sleeping, and it's really kind of a really creepy tale, as all of Lovecraft's tales are. But that one was a really good one. Another one I read was The Cats of Ulthar. Now, this is a really short story, but I think this has to be one of my favorites that I read. And it was quite disturbing. But basically follows these people in a small town who torture and kill cats. And one day, all of a sudden, all the cats in the town start congregating around the house of this couple, and then the couple is never heard from again. And I'm certain the moral of the story is don't don't kill cats, or it will come back to bite you literally. The cats will eat you. It was a creepy little tale, but it was so much fun to read. I had a blast reading it. I got such a kick out of it. Is it bad that I found a very dark humor in it? Yeah, I'm a cat lover, so anyone who tortures and kills cats, I'm like, okay, yeah, you're gonna get your comeuppance, right? The next one I read was Azathoth, a being who travels the dreams of different people. Another one is called Memory, and it talks about the confused memories of human beings, and how we think one thing and then it's really another way, and things we thought we knew about reality we really didn't. It's a really interesting story. One of the longer stories I read was The Color Out of Space, and this follows a man who is well known for his foods that he provides and all of the things he grows on his land. And then all of a sudden, this, I don't even know how to call it, a spaceship or something like that glows a very special, unique color that isn't on the human color spectrum, crashes into his yard and starts poisoning all the land and poisoning his family members. And it's just a really, really creepy tale. I want to watch the movie because stuff like this, I like to watch the movie after reading the book, so I'm going to check that out at some point. I'm not a huge fan of Nicolas Cage, but I do want to check out the movie anyway and see what it's like. But that was a creepy one. Pickman's Model is kind of a picture of a real life ghoul. Pickman is this artist, and he has this labyrinth of basements that he works out of and makes his art. And you're following someone who he is showing around his basement, and all the creepy, ghoulish pieces of artwork that he has created, and they're just frightening to behold. And just, he's obviously getting visions of the underworld, and the elder gods are speaking to him and warping his mind. It's just a fascinating story. So I really enjoyed that one. The Horror at Red Hook. So I did not know this prior to reading this story, but one of my favorite books is a novella called The Ballad of Black Tom. And I recently found out this year that was actually based on The Horror at Red Hook. I didn't realize that. And so as I was reading The Horror at Red Hook, there's a character in that book called Robert Sidon, and he's actually a character in The Ballad of Black Tom as well. And so it was kind of cool to see the parallels there and to read the story. I did see a lot of similarities to The Ballad of Black Tom, but I'm really glad that Victor LaValle wrote The Ballad of Black Tom, because I think it is a much better story. So I highly recommend reading The Horror at Red Hook, but even more so reading The Ballad of Black Tom. So the last one that I read was The History of the Necronomicon. And it basically reads like a journal entry or a history book entry, and it essentially tells where the Necronomicon came from. The mad Arab Abdul al-Hara or something like that. I forget exactly, but it talks about the origins and the history of the Necronomicon. So just like the name. It was pretty interesting. It's only a one-page story, and I thought it was enjoyable, but there wasn't much to it. So some of his stories are shorter than others. So I also read the Cthulhu Casebooks Book 1, Sherlock Holmes and the Shadwell Shadows, and I do have a review up on the channel for it. I will link it in the cards at the end and in the description below, so you can go check that out. But it was a fantastic read. It's written about the secret adventures of Sherlock Holmes, the one that the mass public does not know about, where he encounters the horrors of Lovecraftian nature. And it is just a really fun ride. It did a really good job of bringing the voice of the characters and gives you the feel of a Sir Arthur Conan Doyle story. So it did a really good job of mimicking a Sherlock Holmes tale, and I thought it was fantastic. But it's great. It gives you an idea of what a mashup between Sherlock Holmes and H.P. Lovecraft looks like. Yeah, really good. I also read Fragile Things, and this is a short story collection of Neil Gaiman's. One of the stories in there is A Study in Emerald, and there's various other stories in there. There's a novella based around Shadow, who is a character from American Gods. There's a whole bunch of other just creepy and weird tales. I highly recommend it. It's a great book. Of course, you know me, I'm probably going to recommend anything by Neil Gaiman, but with good reason. He's an excellent writer. Some of the stories were better than others. Some I didn't jive with, some I liked. A Study in Emerald kind of flips the Sherlock Holmes mythos on its head, because instead of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson being the main protagonists, you got two other people who seem to be Lovecraftian beings who have inhabited human bodies and are trying to assume the role of Sherlock and Watson, and they're trying to chase down the real Sherlock Holmes and Watson. So it's a really interesting tale. It really flips Sherlock Holmes on its head, and I thought it was a lot of fun. The story about Shadow was really excellent as well. So if you read American Gods, I highly recommend checking out that short story as well. It is called The Monarch of the Glen, and it's really, really good. Oh, in fact, I've got the book right here, Fragile Things. There it is right there. Really great little book. Highly recommend you read it. I also read Sword of Destiny. It is the second book of short stories in the Witcher canon, and it's full of a bunch of different stories following Geralt and Yennefer and Ciri. I noticed a lot of things that were put into Witcher Season 1 that are taken from Sword of Destiny as well. So I thought it was just a really, really great book, and I'm excited to see what they put into Witcher Season 2 when that comes out. But Sword of Destiny was great, and I'm looking forward to reading Blood of Elves here soon. I did read Sandman. In fact, I finished the last 3 volumes in the original Sandman arc. And then, of course, I've still got to read Sandman Overture, but, you know, that's kind of a prequel, so I'll read that last. But I did read The Wake, Endless Nights, and The Dream Hunters. And I think my favorite of those has to be The Dream Hunters. It's a really cool Japanese-inspired tale following a fox spirit who can turn into a woman and, bewitch a man that she's trying to gain entrance into his household. So I believe it's called a kitsune, is the name of is the Japanese term for the fox spirit. So just a really cool tale, a very different tale than most of what you find in the Sandman universe, but it's just it fits so well also because the Sandman does play a prominent role in it. So yeah, Sandman was a lot of fun to read, and I'm excited to finally be at the end of that arc and then read Sandman Overture, and I'll have completed all of the original Sandman canon. So really excited about that. And then the final book I read in October was Song by Jesse Teller. This is the first book in the Manhunters trilogy. It is a fantasy tale, dark fantasy is what I would term it. It's not grimdark by any means. There's a lot of light. There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of emotion wrapped up in the tale. It is just fantastic. And I am going to have a review coming out for Song very soon. So I won't talk too much about it, but essentially it follows a wizard named Rafe Ivoryfist, who used to be the court wizard to the king, and in recent times he has been warden over a prison that imprisons supernatural and magical beings and villains, so to speak. And he comes to find out that in his absence the prison has been overrun and the prisoners have almost all escaped, and he has to go and hunt them down and find the person who did this. It's a really, really great story. I had a lot of fun with it. So, you know what, guys? When I was filming this video, I totally spaced to talk about the fact that I finished The Wind Through the Keyhole by Stephen King. I don't know how I left it out, and so I'm throwing it in here now. You need to know that I finished The Wind Through the Keyhole by Stephen King, book 4.5 in the Dark Tower series. So that was yet another book that I read in the month of October. So aren't you proud of me? I did finish it. So I figured I would interject that into this video because I forgot when I recorded the video originally. So there we go. Thanks for watching, guys. And back to the remainder of the video now. So yeah, guys, that was my reading month. It was I got a lot accomplished in October. So let's see, I read 8 Lovecraft tales. And then I also read 7 other books. So yeah, that was a good reading month, I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on my October wrap-up, or my Lovecraftober wrap-up. And I will talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Oh, make sure that you are reading more books, guys. Have a good one.